Hello, good morning. It is Monday, February 10th, and I am Rob, that developer dad. And we're working in .NET and C Sharp and some Blazor and some Azure and all kinds of stuff as I make the product enhancements to the DMs familiar that I had triaged out until I got it to a point where I could actually start asking people to sign up and start using it a little bit. Um, I had to draw a line in the sand on features and stuff. Otherwise, I would just code and code and code and code and never release it. And yeah, so now late last week, I added in the delete NPC functionality with a confirmation dialog. The developing that confirmation dialog was very, very interesting in that I had GitHub Copilot do most of the work, and I acted more as a supervisor, manager, kind of senior tech lead type to actually get the feature done. And we knocked that sucker out in like the confirmation dialog. We knocked that out in about an hour, and I was very pleased. It would have taken me probably twice as long, if not more so, to do it myself because I am not super duper familiar with Blazor. Don't think in browser stuff the same way I do in backend logic and components and so on and so forth. When you get behind the API, because that's where I've spent most of my time over the past, gosh, more than 10 years at this point. But I am experienced enough to be able to at least guide the AI as if it's a junior developer who really knows their stuff. And between myself and Claude Sonnet, we got it knocked out. So today we're going to start working on filtering. And before we start that, I'm going to share my screen. So here's this. Let's make sure I'm actually on a feature branch, and I am, because I didn't do the delete stuff on a feature branch. I was checking in directly to main, and I pushed that enhancement to production a little bit before I intended to do so. But I need to be mindful to always develop on my feature branch so that I don't inadvertently. I got lucky this time because there weren't any serious problems. But I need to be more mindful because I am not always going to be perfect. I am not always going to put things in the right places. I'm not always going to nail it the first time. And I don't want to push something up to production and then have to panic and forward fix back to the prior version or what have you. So I'm making sure that I am, in fact, on a feature branch NPC management filter list right now. And I am. So let's spin up the application just to see what it looks like currently. Because we need to do a little bit of design, a little bit of thinking over where this stuff's going to go. And I need to make sure that this is going to look good and be functional on phones as well as desktop experiences. So let's spin in here. We'll shrink this down. So this is a rough view of what it looks like on a phone. It's not quite that wide, but it's good enough. So let's sign up. And I'll use that character, that person. And we can go into the townsfolk manager. And here we go. We've got 3 characters right now. Let's spin up a couple more. Let's go with dwarf. not retired. Everything else is random. Woodcarver was a charlatan. Okay. Let's generate and save. Go back to the list. New. I need not an entertainer, but an innkeeper. Not retired. I want to shift that so that retired is no longer, or is the default on this. Dragonborn innkeeper was a hermit. That's an interesting switch. So let's generate that one. Here we go. And we'll save Karos. Go back to the list. And let's do one more. Fully random. Retired calligrapher. Maybe she's hanging out at the inn having some dinner. Alara Finn. 5'4", close crop blonde hair. Save townsperson. Back to list. All right, we've got a few. Excuse me. And this is fine. This is okay when you've got like a half dozen or so. It gets a little messier when you have dozens and you're looking for that one. So let's think about where we can put a filter UI. And I think if we put a filter button just to the left of the non-player characters label, and then we'll put a little panel that scooches down, or we'll scooch the header panel down to show the filter choices. I feel like that's probably a good thing to do. So let's start simple. And let's spin into the UI. And let's just get that component showing and hiding. And common, I think I want to put it in common. And we're going to add a new file. It is going to be a Razor component. And it is going to be ObjectFilterForm. I'm going to add another new file. It's going to be a class called ObjectFilterForm.razor. And that should tack the CS onto it for us. It sure did. And we can get rid of this .razor. Bye. And we got to make this a partial class to turn it into a code behind. So we can save that. And let's go ahead and add our CSS file right now. All right, there's no what's it for style sheets just yet. So we'll just do ObjectFilterForm.razor.css. And that gives us a really tidy separation of concerns. Save. Excuse me. Now let's pop out to ObjectFilterForm. We'll get rid of this. See you later. And And we know that our object filter form is going to have a parameter, public string caption get set, and we got to satisfy this Anger code here. There we go. And let's go ahead and add to the razor h3 at caption. And I don't think I want it to be a level 3 heading. I think I just want to go let's leave it at level 3 for now. It might be a little chunky, but we can cut it down later. Div class equals filter option, filter form. We'll define that class. Let's just add a blank class for it right now. Dot filter form. And we know it wants to be display flex direction. I don't want to do a column, I want to do a row. Justify content space between, that works. Width 100%. And let's save. Now, what are you complaining about? Oh, got an extra class there. Okay. Now, div class equals filter item. And we're not going to do anything with this yet. All right. Span placeholder span label class equals filter item label class equals filter item input and finally button class equals filter form submit. And I'm just going to say filter there. All right. Save all of that stuff. Pardon me. So let's stop this. I'll spin it up in the browser again in a few minutes. But what I want to do first is come over to Pages and Partials and the NPC list. Excuse me, goodness. And here's my heading. There's my button. Here we are. And we're in the task host, header. I believe my styles for that are over in www.root, in the styles, find task host. Very good. That UI can go away. Task host header, flex 00 auto, padding. Okay. Task host main, task host footer, footer nav. We're not really worried about any of that stuff. So I guess we're going to mess around with the styles in the task host, in particular the header. So I'm thinking. I'm going to put the object filter form code behind and the other stuff away for now. I don't need roadmap.razor open. I do need NPC list razor open. There's that, and I need my styles open again right there at task host header. So we've got this. And spin the app up again, get it running. Because we need to do a little bit of anatomy and physiology of the UI here. So pull this bad boy over here. This little shaded area right here is our task host header. You can see this rounded rectangle here. I do not use Tori at all. How's it going, Magnavio? Pleased to meet you, first time chatter. So my task host is everything inside this next rounded rectangle. This is the task host header. And what I need to do is I need to split this into two rows, one of which is not always visible. So how can I do this in a very unobtrusive way without jacking everything up everywhere else? I think the way to go is, and this is incredibly difficult because we're playing with, well, not difficult, just tricky, because we're playing with flex boxes. And flex boxes are mean sometimes. Div class equals, not a filter form, but flex row container. Get rid of that. Div class equals flex row div class equals flex row and hidden. ID equals filter panel. I'm going to move these guys in here. V. And let's fix our indentation here. There we go. Oh, Mondays are rough, man, especially if you were cheering for Kansas City last night. I am not a football fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I did join my wife, who is a football fan, for some of the game because she wanted delicious snacks, and I made delicious snacks and brought them to her and sat and watched, and just having to watch Philadelphia absolutely shellac Kansas City. It was almost a shutout. I know that's not really a football term. That's more a hockey term. But yeah. But if it's not the football problem, I feel for you. Mondays are frequently unfun. Yeah, I'm intentionally not using Bootstrap because I found that it was really getting in the way of some of the custom CSS that I needed to do. And I knew that I was going to run into this puzzle when I was originally standing up the Blazor UI. So I'm just having to think back to what I was doing and how I want to manipulate things for this. And unfortunately, edit and continue and hot reload for Blazor on a Mac is flaky as heck. If I were using Bootstrap, I could totally make a card. You're right. But I actually ripped all of the Bootstrap stuff out a while ago. Now, before we carry on, I do need to update my style sheet and define what flex row container, flex row are. So, I'm going to come down below task host stuff here and dot flex row container display is flex. Flex direction is a row, justify content. I'm going to go flex start. Align items, nope, is going to be flex start. And because the flex row container is always going to be a child of some other flex box, I am going to say width 100% of parent. Flex grow is going to be 1. Flex grow 1. Shrink 1. And make it auto. Margin is 0. Padding 0.25 rem. So 4 pixels at most. Actually, you know what? No. We're going to go 0 padding. Next thing I need is flex row. Used to contain a set of rows within another element. Dot flex row. We're going to make it width 100%. Padding left 0.25 rem, right 0.25 rem, and I'm using explicit things here because I can never remember the actual order. Top 0. Hot reload does not work it doesn't work reliably for Blazor on a Mac in VS Code. I've noticed that hot reload works sometimes in full Visual Studio on a PC, like on Windows. I probably have my task.json and my launch.json all jacked up here on the Mac, and I haven't taken the time to fix it up yet. Oh, wait, flex row container. I can't do this as a row. It has to be columns. Silly me. Padding, or this one is display. Flex. Flex direction is a row. Width, I'm going to go with a 0 margin. There we go. Flex direction none. Justify content is going to be space between. Align items, center. Save. And I got to rebuild explicitly because, as I said, somewhere along the road, I screwed up my launch settings. Right on. Yeah, I'm on, oh gosh, the latest. I can't even remember what the code name is. Some mountain name. But I'm on an M2 and Apple Silicon and all that happy stuff. And I don't know, that probably doesn't have much to do with it. Okay, so my new NPC button is no longer clunked over that way, which is not what I wanted. So let's inspect the element. And yes, because I really enjoy pain, I'm also using Safari. It's just straight up web app. And to give you some background on me, for the past, up until I started in on building the UI for this, I've been API on back for the past 10, 12 years. So I'm relearning all of this stuff. And I figured I'd go server side first, and then one day when I've got some time, I would dive into WASM. All right, so we've got our flex row container, which looks approximately right. So here's what we're going to do. Because we're troubleshooting, border solid 1px. Let's go with something really obvious. We'll go with that. Border solid dashed 1px red. Save. Now I have noticed that edit and continue, I'm old. That hot reload sometimes works for CSS if it's at the root level of your application. Now let's come back to NPC Listener. As soon as you start monkeying around in components, it loses its head. And let's just go span. The filter UI will appear here eventually. Save. Restarting it might work. Restart. I gotta have a chat with Copilot one of these days because it is forever adding what it thinks I want, and I don't even notice it until after. So me and Copilot are gonna have a conversation one of these days about it being a little too over eager. Flex row, filter panel. Yeah. See, this is where it gets really dumb. Rebuild. Because restart doesn't implicitly rebuild for me. What are my problems? Oh, yeah. Caption, okay. Why are you doing that? Object filter form, caption equals filter. Save. There. Don't use empty rule sets, whatever. All right. And run. Pop Safari back out. Reload. Okay, filter panel UI will appear header eventually. All right, groovy. We got that working. Now, let's get over here on NPC list. I want a button filter, and onClick equals save. Yeah. ObjectFilterForm at ref equals filter form filter items on filter clicked. FilterForm.toggle. Save all of this stuff. Now it's complaining up a storm. So I got to come in here to the razor.cs, and it's probably complaining about filter items on filter clicked. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of both of those. We don't need them right now. We are not ready to add that functionality yet. So let's see what's complaining here. Chances are I've got to go to the code, which is get out of here, back here, and parameter create NPC page states, visibility, cascading parameter, loading overlay, and I need protected object filter form with a get set. Save. On initialize, register NPC event handlers. On after render, on page state, changing, yeah. NPC list loading, filtered NPCs. And I'm going to say filter form equals new object filter form. What are you complaining about now? Declare it as a private field in the code behind file or in the code block of the Razor component. Okay, so I need to make it private. Private. Try it again. Cancel. Frickin' stop it. Where's the go away button? There we go. Save. Stop. Rebuild. Okay, that's fine. Now it's just complaining that it doesn't know what toggle means. Public void toggle visibility. And private bool is visible. Visible equals not is visible. And finally, public string show hide class CSS. Now, those aren't the correct class names. So let's find the styles, hidden and shown. Come over here, shown, hidden, save. Toggle visibility. There's that. Flex row, ID filter panel, filter form. I might not even need that ID in a second. But if I come over to ObjectFilterForm.razor, div class equals at visibility slash div. I gotta go find that correct class name. There's that. Bump that. Save it. Rebuild. Boop. And let's see if this actually works. I give myself about a 50-50. Yes, I did intend to invoke the method. Let's fix that using Copilot, shall we? Adding parentheses to invoke the method instead of just referencing it. Using the correct attribute. Yeah, do it. Fix it. There. Save that. Rebuild my solution. It's probably still complaining about the empty style. Yeah. Let's run it. Pop out here. Just do a full hard reload on the darn thing. Filter. Doesn't look like anything's doing its thing. And I've got a funny little guy down here. There's that. Save. And let's come in here, do one of those. And where is my, here we are. Do a full reload. Here we go. Empty caches. See ya. Try reloading again. Oh yeah, you're gonna be a spaz. It wants a full, yep, it wants a rebuild. Do, 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 do. Yeah, this is just something that I've been putting up with because I haven't been spending a ton of time in the UI the past month or two. But this is becoming bothersome. I'm gonna have to go do some research on fixing up my hot reload stuff. All right, is it okay? We are getting to here. Good. Is visible as false. Right there. Go. And I have a feeling that I need to invoke a state has changed. Yeah. So let's do that. Come over here. State has changed. Save. Rebuild. And that should cause it to repaint and properly assign the CSS class. So let's run. And then once we've got this visibility toggle going, I think I'm going to call that a session. And we'll start thinking about logic and what we populate my filter with in the afternoon session. So let's run that. And we'll come back to Safari. Placeholder label, placeholder input. Beautiful. We should be able to, let's 86 that. Get lost breakpoint. Filter. Filter. Great. Good deal. Now, I don't love how this is all spaced out like that. Don't love it even a bit. So, let's pop out to NPC list razor and say, let's just tuck the first two elements into a div, just like that. And of course, because we've just modified a component, we got to rebuild. I'm just going to rebuild the Blazor client. Excuse me. And we'll run it. And we'll reload. Filter. Okay, so that's not what I wanted to have happen, but our toggling is working beautifully. And I like that a lot. Now, some to-dos. I want to replace the word filter with an icon. I want to got filter and non-player and the non-player characters label tucked up next to each other, maybe with just like a quarter of a EM of padding or margin between the two. I can get rid of these borders fairly soon. And then we can start talking about how to populate the actual form elements and getting those things stacked up the way I want them to be and placed on the within the UI. Now, just before we wrap, let's play show hide over here. And I can absolutely live with this. Yeah. So there's our desktop view. Here's our quasi-mobile view. Let's see if it'll actually let me open this on the iPhone and get to this page without logging in. Come on. Where are we at? In you go. It might let me log it. Nope. Yeah, that's fine. I know. Silly thing. Come on. I know you're trying to protect me from myself. Yeah, it doesn't have, this iPhone simulator doesn't have access to my Mac's passwords because I'm apparently not logged in as myself. Features, Face ID, enrolled, show standby, device, erase all content and settings, edit, file. Yeah, it doesn't know who I am. Okay, I'm not that worried about it. Goodbye, iPhone simulator. All right. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. So I might find an icon to use for the filter button between now and this afternoon, but the real thing that I want to focus on is fixing up this little bit of styling that I'll probably take care of in between now and then start talking about how to populate the labels and inputs in this object filter form. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. And until next time, take care of yourselves and happy coding. Bye now.